So there is a new movie on Netflix called Your Place or Mine, and it is with Reese Witherspoon and Ashton Kutcher. And there are some things in this movie that I want to talk to you guys about from a licensed therapist perspective. So if you're interested in learning, stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It is Keandra Jackson here, licensed marriage and family therapist. And I recently had the opportunity to watch a movie on Netflix called Your Place or Mine. And I couldn't help but come chat with you guys about it because there is some things in this movie that we need to discuss pronto. Now, before we get into any more details, you already know that there are spoiler alerts all up in, through, and around this movie. So if you have not watched it yet, press pause on this, go on over to Netflix, watch it, spin the block, and then come back and watch this review. Because listen, we got some things that we need to talk about. So before we get into it, I want you to comment below. Let me know what you thought about Place or Mine, and if you feel that friends can be lovers and friends. I want to know. If you've never heard of this movie, let me give you the quick synopsis before I get into the three things that I want to talk to you guys about. So it's essentially about two friends and living two completely different lives on two completely different coasts. And they wind up swapping lives and swapping apartments for a week. Ashton Kutcher can help Reese Witherspoon out. And they wind up figuring out and finding out that their lives are not as different as they thought they were. And they may want something different than what they thought they originally wanted in the first place. The character Debbie is played by Reese Witherspoon. And then the character Peter is played by Ashton Kutcher. And then the character Theo is played by Jesse Williams. First thing that I just can't wait to talk to you guys about is this concept of lovers and friends. Tell me again. Is that the Usher song? Lovers and friends. Yeah, Usher. Okay, I'm gonna focus. Oftentimes, people feel like men and women can't be friends, especially if there has been some boundary crossed, especially if there has been some history behind there. People say absolutely, positively, it cannot happen, it should not happen, and it's gonna get real spicy and interesting if things continue to do so. Peter and Debbie off with their encounter that they had back in the day, which was actually very hilarious. They're off with talking about the hair and the different layered shirts and the earring and a whole bunch of stuff that was a thing back in like 2003 or whatever, was actually hilarious to me because I was like, that is so true. This is like throwback central right now. But essentially they had like a one night stand, or they were together and then they kind of drifted apart because he did not want to commit and he made up a whole bunch of other different excuses of why he didn't want to be with her in the first place. And then they eventually wind up being friends. And so the whole movie takes us on this journey of like that initial encounter that they had and them being friends for like literally 20 plus years and talking all the time and all of the things. When two people know that they have history and know that something could be a thing, but nobody wants to say anything to the other person. Like, y'all literally wasted 20 years of keeping your heart, your feelings, your emotions, your thoughts, and all of those things to yourself, and you could have potentially been in a healthy, thriving, amazing marriage or relationship, but you were too scared to share your true thoughts and feelings because you thought the other person would reject you, or you thought the other person would shut you down, or you thought the other person didn't want you for some reason, when that wasn't true at all. Because Peter, aka Ashton, he had all the mementos over the years, all of the pictures, all of the receipts and the things that they had engaged in over the years. He had a whole little folder, okay? A manila folder at that, with all of the stuff that he kept all over the years of their relationship. And that's how she found out, when she was living in his apartment, that he had a thing for her, essentially. And she found out that she had a thing for him too. The interesting part about this whole thing, which I don't know how the producers weave this into it, but I think that there was a storyline here that could have been developed a little bit further, was Theo. Theo is, first of all, Theo's fine. Okay, he's played by Jesse Williams. He wound up having a connection with Theo, slept with him, he was into her, he's like an author and she's into books and all of these things. And she basically shut that man down, okay? Like shut him down to the ground. You can tell his heart was so broken. Like, why did you, Witherspoon, why did you do Theo like that? Theo, what could have been good for you, sis? He could have been good for you. But she allowed that to crumble, you know, for the sake of exploring a potential relationship with Peter, aka Ashton. And that happens in the real world, right? We will leave a good thing or a potential good thing to explore something that could potentially be a maybe. Woo! So I'm just here to tell y'all this. If you have a friend that you have a little history with, or if you have a friend that you think might like you and you might like them a little bit, but you're not 100% sure and you don't know what to do because you don't want to ruin the friendship, I get it. I've actually been there before, to be honest with you. But closed mouths don't get fed, right? The other person isn't a mind reader. So if you potentially want to see if this is going to work and to see where this could potentially go, speak up. Say something about it, because just as scared as you are about that potential thing failing and not working out and you losing that friendship, what if it goes well? What if he's like, or she's like the love of your life? What if things are just like, yes, why did I wait so long to do this? So I think in these situations and circumstances, it can be tricky, but I do think that I would encourage people to at least take the risk. If the person says, no, I'm not digging you, I'm not feeling you, it didn't work out, let's just be friends, it might be a little awkward and it may not be able to go back to the original plan, but at least you put yourself out there. And I think we don't get to explore the things that we want to explore in life because we too scary. Live your best life. YOLO in this thing. The next thing that I want to talk to you guys about is failed careers. You know, in this situation, it seems like Debbie, aka Reese, was on this journey to, I think, become an accountant or something of that nature. She was taking a test and flying to New York to go do some type of class or whatever she was supposed to do, which I don't understand why she couldn't do that in LA. But anyway, so she did all of that, but it seemed like her heart, her passion, her soul was writing and reading and being into books and things of that nature. And it's just interesting to me how we will put the things that we love to the side, put our passions to the side, our dreams to the side because we got detoured in life, or because there are other things that take precedent or other things that make us more money, when at the root of it all, we will never be fully and truly satisfied if we don't pursue that one thing. And there was a scene in the movie where she was walking by a class, because she wound up going to like college and school or whatever. She was walking by a class that was like a literary class and they were talking about books, and she was standing at the door like, oh my gosh, yes, you know? And it just showed that she was so interested in that, and the thing that she was trying to do wasn't it. And so I want to encourage you too, if you're listening and if there's something burning on the inside of you, if there's a purpose, if there's a passion, if there is a career choice or a path that you know that you will be good at and that would make you a lot of money and that you would enjoy, I would say go for it. Why spend the rest of your life doing something that you absolutely hate? That is miserable. Who is trying to do that? Okay? So don't be in a position like Debbie where you feel like your career is failed. And I believe that even Ashton, aka Peter, had the same thing. Like, he actually wrote a whole book that he never told Debbie about, right? They're supposed to be besties and tell each other everything. He wrote a whole book, had it in his oven, which was weird. Clearly he don't cook. But he actually wrote a whole entire book. And she spent like 2 days or less reading his whole entire book and realizing that it was really good and that he's actually a really good writer. And that's how she wound up meeting Theo and pitching Peter's book, and also lying to him about it potentially being published. So failed careers and different career paths is a thing in this movie, and I think that there's a lot that we can learn about that as well. Last thing that I want to talk to you guys about is like this helicopter parenting. Reese Witherspoon, aka Debbie, she was the helicopter parent. Like, she did not allow, she had like, I think he was 9 or 10, a 10-year-old son, right? And granted, he was allergic to the world, okay? It seemed like he was allergic to gluten and nuts and grass and a whole bunch of different things, so he wasn't able to do a lot of the activities that other students and his friends were able to do. He couldn't eat certain things, and you know, it was just a very, very difficult situation. And I understand that, because as a parent, at the very minimum, you want to be able to keep your child alive, right? Like, you don't want your child to, you know, die, God forbid, you know, from eating nuts or, you know, playing in the grass and things of that nature. I just feel like she wished she could have put him inside of a bubble and literally, wasn't that a movie? Anyways, put him inside of a bubble and just kept him there to keep him safe from the outside world. But she went to the extreme. She had sticky notes on every single thing. When Ashton Kutcher came to her house, telling him what to do, had a whole list that was laminated, okay, about the different allergies. And it was like, okay, this is to the extreme. And it was so apparent that everybody else knew that she was a helicopter parent, but her. Her son had to check her at the very end of the movie when he wound up sneaking to go play hockey and got injured and wound up being in the hospital. She was like, "You're not playing hockey anymore." And he was like, "Yes, I am, Mom. You're scared, but I'm not. I'm not living in fear anymore." I'm paraphrasing. He didn't say all that. But essentially, that's what he said. He was like, "I'm about to live my life. You're not about to shelter me and do the most anymore. I need to fly my wings," you know? And to hear a 9-10-year-old tell their parent that, it was really impactful to me, even though I do not have children currently, that sometimes we have to pump the brakes. Sometimes we have to pull back a little bit. Sometimes we have to let our child live their life. Yes, we want them to be safe. Yes, we want them to be alive. Yes, we want to make sure that they are protected. That is our responsibility. But also, they are going to eventually grow up to be an adult. And you want them to be self-sufficient. You want them to be able to do things on their own and not have passed down anxiety because your mama was so scared to let you do anything. Now you're so scared to do things as well. And think about that, how anxiety and generational things get passed down from one thing to another. My mom was so scared to let me do things, and now I'm scared to let my kid do things. Now my kid is scared to let their kids do things. And then you look up and you see a whole generation of anxious individuals. We're not trying to do that. This was a really cute rom-com, funny, realistic. It had a predictable ending because clearly Reese Witherspoon, Debbie, and Ashton Kutcher, Peter wind up getting together at the end and living like happily ever after with a Debbie's son and all of those things. But it allowed me to see things from a different perspective that I wanted to share with you guys. So if you want to go and watch the movie, I definitely would highly recommend taking the time to watch it on Netflix. But until then, I'll see you in the next TV show and movie review later.